All right, breaking news now. Former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried pleading not guilty to fraud charges in court earlier today.
Gemini President Cameron Winklevoss made the accusation in an open letter, but said he was open to resolving his firm's complex lending dispute with Silver.
All right, breaking news now. Former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried pleading not guilty to fraud charges in court earlier today. The judge setting a trial date for October 3rd, 2023. The founder of the now bankrupt crypto exchange is charged with 8 criminal counts, including wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering. Bankman-Fried facing up to 115 years in prison if convicted on all charges. Yahoo Finance's David Holler joins us now. David, you were at the courthouse earlier today.
So Bankman-Fried and party came out of a black SUV, and it was noticeably the crowd was thinner than it was for his initial arraignment. This is sort of the second part of his arraignment. And so he passed through security and he was flanked by reporters, as you can tell. His mother apparently also falling during the incident. And so when he passed through inside, he was initially sort of skeptical of giving away his laptop and computers. He had to anyway, as everyone in the courtroom did. He pled not guilty in the courtroom. After that, there was a lot of discussions about next steps for the discovery period. It does seem clear that the DOJ and Bankman-Fried's legal defense have been in conversations, especially regarding some assets that were moved by Alameda Research, Bankman-Fried's hedge funds, crypto wallets this was noticed on Friday, and the DOJ said they have no evidence that he did it, but they're placing an extra contingency to his bail, which is that he cannot touch Alameda and FTX group crypto wallets.
David, what was his body language like in the courtroom? And I guess, how did he appear, comparing that to how we have seen him on Yahoo Finance and on other networks in the past before the arrest?
Yeah, that's a good question. His demeanor was not, he was upbeat, I would say, in terms of what you would expect. And I think that a lot of it had to do with the fact that, one, this is routine, and there have clearly been negotiations that have been set. And at this point, too, I think that there's clearly some agreements that have been made. The trial date is obviously set for October. He might plead guilty before then. He has the option. But that being said, it gives him more time in this period of discovery, which is sort of happening right now.
Yeah, certainly.
There was a headline that crossed just moments ago that Sam Bankman-Fried has asked a judge to redact the names of the co-signers on the bail agreement. There is a question not only about the machinations of this case, but who's backing him? Who is involved with him? Who are some of the people other than his parents, which also are interesting, given that they are Stanford professors or were in the profession of law?
Because interestingly, it's reported that the head of the SEC, Gary Gensler, and Caroline's dad, Glenn Ellison, both worked at MIT as professors. At MIT, Caroline's dad was the former boss of the head of the SEC. An alleged leaked email shows that the SEC was going to give FTX, quote, no action relief. Basically, this means, we know that you're breaking the rules, but we'll look the other way.
Profession of law.
Yeah, and have worked with very big figures from Peter Thiel to Gary Gensler. So a lot of names here who know the Bankman-Frieds. But when you look at that idea here that you can't know who the co-signers are for this, there's a lot of frustration. This is a $250 million bond. He says he has $100,000 in his own bank account. This is secured by his parents' home, which is a very small fraction of that bond. At the end of the day, there's a lot of Sam's life that he himself has financed through FTX, which has been getting all of these allegations here about the money coming from customers.
Well, we've been talking consistently about not just this particular case, but the ripple effects through the crypto sphere, but also beyond, political sphere, as well as others. And I'm just wondering whether you still get the sense in your conversations that there is more on that front, or have we really seen the bulk of it, which seems to be, at least based on the stability we've seen in certain markets, it's already passed?
It's definitely not passed because, remember, there are a lot of bills sitting in Congress now. At the time where many constituents have lost money from FTX or Gemini or Genesis, and they're clamoring for their regulators and their lawmakers to get it together. These lawmakers, many of them have met with Sam Bankman-Fried. Many of them have taken money from Sam Bankman-Fried and his deputies. Some of them have given it back. But at the end of the day, there's no clarity. And FTX has lobbied for some of these rules. Binance has lobbied for some of these rules, at least the U.S. affiliates. So when you look at the range of influence of crypto in Washington, it gets really hard to parse what's the right road ahead.
Just briefly, what's happening with the rest of those political donations?
You know, one question that has come up is, are they subject to bankruptcy claims? How do you get the money back? It's been spent on media ads in some cases.
Whoa. Hold on a second. Are you saying that some political parties could file for bankruptcy in order not to return these?
The FTX bankruptcy, they want the money back for the creditors. And so what do you do with money that's potentially been spent? I think that that's a weird question to try to suss out. Some has been donated to charity. But at the end of the day, whose money is it? And a bankruptcy court would argue that it is the creditor's money.
Gemini's frozen crypto funds. Gemini President Cameron Winklevoss made the accusation in an open letter, but said he was open to resolving his firm's complex lending dispute with Silbert's company, Digital Currency Group.
DCG did not borrow $1.67 billion from Genesis. DCG has never missed an interest payment to Genesis and is current on all loans outstanding. Next loan maturity is May 2023. DCG delivered to Genesis and your advisors a proposal on December 29th and has not received any response.
Gemini had a partnership with Genesis Global Capital, which is the lending arm of Genesis Global Trading, which itself is owned by DCG. Gemini offered customers high yields on their crypto deposits by loaning them to Genesis Global Capital. Well, when FTX collapsed, Genesis halted redemptions and Gemini followed suit. Now, Gemini is trying to recoup $900 million in customer funds that were loaned to Genesis as part of that partnership.